Growing eggplants in containers can be a truly rewarding experience for any gardener. It's a fantastic way to enjoy fresh, flavorful vegetables right from your own space. You don't need a large traditional garden plot to cultivate these beautiful plants. Container growing makes it possible to grow eggplants even if you only have a patio, balcony, or deck available. With the right approach and a little care, you can achieve a successful harvest. Let's dive into how to make that happen. The first crucial step is selecting the right eggplant variety for container life. Look for compact or dwarf eggplant varieties specifically bred to thrive in pots. These types are naturally smaller and better suited to the limited space of a container. Excellent examples include varieties like Baby Ball, Patio Baby, or Little Fingers. Their growth habit is more manageable for confined spaces compared to larger, sprawling types. Choosing the right variety sets you up for success from the start. Next, you need to select an appropriate container. Size matters significantly for eggplants. Choose a container that is at least 12 inches wide and at least 12 inches deep. This minimum size provides enough room for the root system to develop properly. For even better growth and a more robust plant, preferably use a larger container. Something in the range of 15 to 20 inches in both width and depth is ideal. A bigger pot offers more soil volume, which helps retain moisture and nutrients. Crucially, ensure the container has adequate drainage holes at the bottom. This is non-negotiable for healthy plant growth. Proper drainage is essential to prevent waterlogging in the soil. Waterlogged soil suffocates roots and creates conditions ripe for disease. Poor drainage is a common cause of failure in container gardening. It can quickly lead to root rot, which is often fatal for the plant. Once you have your container, fill it with a high-quality, well-draining potting mix. The mix should also be nutrient-rich to support the eggplant's growth and fruit production. Using a good potting mix is vital for container success. Avoid using garden soil directly in your containers. Garden soil is designed for in-ground beds and can compact heavily in a pot. This compaction hinders drainage and makes it difficult for roots to penetrate and access air and nutrients. An ideal potting mix blend often includes components like compost for nutrients, peat moss or cocoa coir for moisture retention, and perlite or vermiculite for aeration and drainage. This combination provides the perfect environment for eggplant roots. Eggplants are sun-loving plants and truly thrive in full sun. They require a significant amount of direct sunlight each day to grow strong and produce fruit. Aim for at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight daily. Position your container in the sunniest location you have available. A south-facing spot is often ideal in the northern hemisphere. More sun generally means more flowers and more eggplants. Watering is another critical aspect of container eggplant care. Container plants dry out much faster than plants in the ground. You need to water regularly to keep the soil consistently moist. The key is moist, not soggy. The soil should feel like a wrung-out sponge, not a muddy mess. Overwatering is just as harmful as underwatering. To check if your plant needs water, insert your finger about an inch or two deep into the soil. If the top inch or two feels dry to the touch, it's time to water. Water thoroughly until you see water draining from the bottom holes. Try to avoid overhead watering, especially on the leaves. Watering the soil directly helps prevent fungal diseases from developing on the foliage. Focus the water stream at the base of the plant. For easier maintenance, especially if you have multiple containers or live in a hot climate, consider using drip irrigation. Self-watering containers are another excellent option that helps regulate moisture levels and reduces the frequency of watering. Eggplants are heavy feeders, meaning they require a good supply of nutrients to produce abundant fruit. Since container soil has a limited volume of nutrients, regular feeding is necessary. Start feeding your plants a few weeks after planting. Use a balanced liquid fertilizer, such as a October 10th 10 or similar ratio. Follow the instructions on the fertilizer packaging for dilution and frequency. Generally, feeding every 2 to 3 weeks is a good starting point. Once the plant begins to flower and set fruit, you might switch to a fertilizer higher in phosphorus and potassium. These nutrients support flowering and fruiting. Consistent feeding ensures your plant has the energy to produce a good harvest. Eggplant plants can become top-heavy, especially when laden with fruit. Providing support is often necessary to prevent stems from breaking. Staking or caging your eggplant helps keep the plant upright. Insert stakes into the container when you first plant to avoid damaging roots later. As the plant grows, gently tie the main stem to the stake using soft ties. A small tomato cage can also work well for container varieties. Support helps the plant bear the weight of the fruit and improves air circulation around the plant. Good air circulation reduces the risk of fungal diseases. It's a simple step that makes a big difference. Eggplant flowers are typically self-pollinating, meaning they contain both male and female parts. However, pollination can sometimes be improved, especially in sheltered locations like balconies. Wind and insects usually handle this outdoors. If you notice flowers dropping without setting fruit, you might need to assist pollination. You can gently tap the flowers or use a small brush to transfer pollen between blooms. This can help ensure fruit development. Like most garden plants, eggplants can attract certain pests. Common issues include aphids, spider mites, and flea beetles. Regularly inspect your plants for any signs of pest activity. Early detection makes pest control much easier. If you spot pests, try washing them off with a strong stream of water. For more persistent infestations, consider using insecticidal soap or neem oil, following product instructions carefully. Diseases can also affect eggplants, particularly in humid conditions or with poor air circulation. Fungal issues like powdery mildew or verticillium wilt can occur. Choosing disease-resistant varieties helps. Ensuring good drainage, proper spacing, and avoiding overhead watering are key preventative measures. Remove any affected leaves promptly to prevent the spread of disease. Healthy plants are less susceptible to pests and diseases. Knowing when to harvest your eggplants is key to enjoying their best flavor and texture. Eggplants are typically ready to harvest when their skin is glossy and firm. The size will vary depending on the variety you chose. Don't wait too long to harvest. Overripe eggplants can become dull-skinned, soft, and sometimes bitter. A good test is to gently press the skin. If it springs back, it's likely ready. If the indentation remains, it might be overripe. Use sharp pruners or a knife to cut the eggplant from the plant. Leave a small piece of the stem attached to the fruit. This helps the eggplant last longer after harvesting. Harvesting regularly encourages the plant to produce more flowers and fruit. The more you pick, the more the plant will yield throughout the season. Enjoy your fresh, homegrown eggplants. In warmer climates, USDA Zones 9, 11, eggplant plants can sometimes be overwintered. They are perennial in these regions. You can prune them back in the fall, and they may regrow the following spring. In cooler climates, eggplants are typically grown as annuals. The plants will die back with the first frost. You can then compost the spent plants and prepare your containers for the next growing season. Growing eggplants in containers is a rewarding endeavor that brings the joy of fresh produce close to home. By selecting the right variety and container, providing ample sun and proper watering, feeding regularly, and keeping an eye out for pests, you can enjoy a bountiful harvest from your patio, balcony, or deck. Happy gardening!